Hey everyone, we're back in F1 Talks. So I just want to start out with something really interesting. So let's go back to March 14th. All right, so that's the first one of the first training or what do you want to say, testing of the cars, and you got Perez starting with this new Red Bull car. Right, and a lot of questions like, can he step up, or is it just going to be another Gasly Albon moment kind of thing? So after the testing, an interviewer goes to him and he's like, "Hey, how long will it take for you to get on par with your car?" He literally says, "Five should be around the number of races, to get familiar. Once we get different conditions, different races, five should be the number." 5 races go through. What does he do in the sixth race? He freaking wins it.
He
What
wins.
a guy! So yeah, just to quick recap of Baku. It was an amazing race. A lot of drama, a lot of red flags, a lot of things that we're gonna touch on. Before praise to Perez. Finally, my Latino boy makes it up there. So anything you guys want to comment real quick about the race? What you guys like? What drivers should we point out? What do you guys think?
I think it's a huge win for the non-big teams. So it was really nice seeing Vettel hit podium again. Obviously, phenomenal achievement from Gasly to also hit podium as well. Um, and I think, I mean, when we were talking about it before, uh, we're saying how this race is very much high risk, high reward. And while we know there's a lot of other things that influence the race, unfortunately, which we'll get to in a bit, fundamentally, it is still the more aggressive drivers that did fundamentally better than most, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying aggressive as in like Max Verstappen aggressive, but like the ones who are willing to take risks. So the Vettel, even the Gasly, the Perez, and everyone else who was able to get some points. I think, if I really wanted to focus on someone, it would have to be Vettel. I think regardless of all the other kind of incidents that were happening, he had really good pace, regardless of whatever, the crashes or the tire punctures and whatnot. And so who knows? Like maybe this was kind of the race that made everything click. Where he just finally understood the car and he understood how much it can go and when to push it. So I'm very interested to see how well he does in the next race, just because I feel this could probably give him the momentum and the kind of confidence that I think he was lacking a bit to kind of be back as a competitive driver at least.
I think that was Vettel's first podium since November 2020, which seems like a long time for a man who's
Yeah.
four-time world champion. He struggled with that car. I mean, yeah, it was a crazy race. What a race. I mean, yeah, as you said, we're going to sort of touch on some of the other incidents that took place in a little bit. I think it should be, I mean, one of the things I wanted to highlight, I mean, I think you sort of touched on some of the guys that did really well, sort of your Gasly's, Vettel's, Alonso. I think his best finish since he's returned to Formula One, getting a P6, which he seemed very pleased with. I think the guy I wanted to bring up, who had conversely a terrible race, absolutely terrible, Valtteri Bottas, yet again underperforming, finished in 12th, and he just seemed to lack pace the whole weekend. Struggled in qualifying, didn't really seem to be making any progress sort of throughout the race, despite there being sort of red flag safety cars, opportunities to kind of come in and change tires and try different strategies and all sorts. He still just seems to be really struggling with this car. So I don't know what's going on with Bottas. I still think that this could be his last season for Mercedes. It was nice also to see Danny Rick getting into the points again, but he's still not looking hugely comfortable in the McLaren. So I think he's got some work to do. Just a crazy race, crazy race.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't mind if we could go to Baku every single week. That's
Oh
my
yeah,
vote.
I love that race, and it's a race that I had said it before in our last show that I thought actually Mercedes would have the pace, but it's starting to see that the issue with Mercedes is grip,
Yeah.
and these races, street races like this, it's getting a little hard. I'm glad you brought up Bottas because it's actually going to be one of the first topics that I'd like to talk about. But before that, I'm just going to quickly say, just to add on what happened, both AlphaTauri scoring points, or not just Gasly, but getting Tsunoda up there.
Yeah.
Really nice to see. Vettel again, whether you're a Vettel hater like me or a Vettel lover, it's kind of hard to hate him right now, being in the Aston Martin. But I was a strong one when he was back in Ferrari. But it's nice
Well,
to see him there and compete. Yep.
I mean, I think him going to Aston Martin kind of humbled him. You see his behavior, even from a personal kind of brand. He was so aggressive and reckless, and not the nicest of people. And most F1 drivers are actually very friendly with each other, but he just always seemed very bitter and sour. And I think once he moved to Aston Martin, I think he was able to tone it down. He just saw there was no point of being this person, especially when you're not in a car that's gonna be competing. Like,
Yeah.
there's no point for you to be mean anymore. And so I'm actually really happy that he moved to Aston Martin, because I think it definitely matured him in terms of how he drives and just how he is as a driver. So I wasn't really the biggest fan of him either when he was in F1. I remember, was it Baku when he crashed into Hamilton, and they were just on the radio, just like
brake
swearing
checked him, and
like just swearing at each other, just so immature. Like, you wouldn't expect that from professional drivers who race at incredibly fast speeds. Like, do not be this reckless when you're driving a car that's like at 300 plus kilometers an hour.
Yeah, a third-time world champion can't really act like that,
Yeah,
I
100%.
was good. The incident I was going to bring up, I still remember, is I think it was Canada a couple of years ago, when I think he was in front of Hamilton. There was almost a crash. He got a 5-second penalty, finished second, and then he went and swapped. Like, he took Hamilton's first place sign from in front of his car and like moved it across. I don't know if you guys remember that. Like, just like that sort of behavior. It's funny. I mean, it gets people talking, but it's just a bit like, I mean, these sort of things happen. You've just got to take it, deal with it. And I feel that, he's sort of, it could just be getting older. You do sort of mellow a little bit, but I was never really a massive fan of Vettel, but I do feel as though I'm slightly turning a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, quick correction. It was 4-time world champion, not 3-time world champion. But yeah, no, and I've heard like he's bringing good things to the table in Aston Martin and with the debriefs and everything. So bringing that maturity.
That's what they need. I think having that combination of Stroll for sort of the youthful exuberance, but having a man like Vettel, as you say, 4-time world champion. He's been at Ferrari, he's been at Red Bull, who are two of the most sort of prestigious teams in Formula One. He's going to bring a lot of experience and help the development of the car. So
absolutely. So moving on to our next topic, I wanted to talk about George Russell, which does include Bottas in the conversation. So quickly, George Russell doesn't stop, to impress. He did end 17th, but that's, overall the race, just the Williams car just won't bulge. But out of the 6 races he's made it into Q2 all 6 times. So that's fantastic on the kid. So the reason why I wanted to talk about him is because he came out with I believe it was yesterday, 2 days ago, saying that he wants his plans set in stone now before the end of the summer. So the way he phrased it, though, was really interesting. So the way he phrased it was like, no one wants to talk about contracts over the summer. I just want to have this settled so I can enjoy my summer, la 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 la. But at the same time, it's like, this is very smart. This could be just like playing the cards right and playing chess. Like, you have Bottas struggling, and now you're putting pressure on Mercedes.
Good timing, isn't it? It's really good timing. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, put the pressure on Mercedes to set out the contract. Like, bring me up. I'm here. I'm improving. Bottas isn't. Give me a chance there. So, what do you guys think? Do you think it's just he just wants to set his contract right, or do you think there's actually like a second meaning behind all this?
I think it would be naive to say that it's not. There's not even just a little bit of sort of gamesmanship, so we say, in, like I said, the timing of the comments. I don't think it's any secret, especially after Sakir end of last year, when he sort of took on Hamilton's spot when Hamilton had COVID. He's part of like the Mercedes young driver. It's almost like the worst kept secret that eventually he's going to end up in a Mercedes. It's just going to happen. Surely it's going to happen. Toto has always said he's a big fan of him. I'm sure they did. I remember watching a video a couple of weeks ago that Formula One put out with all the team bosses. And one of the questions they asked was, if you could have any one of the rest of the paddock as one of your drivers, like, who'd you pick? Toto, of course, picks George Russell. It's just almost become a meme that he's gonna end up in that car. It's almost a point of when, not if now. So I think from his perspective, he's probably bored of being in that Williams car, running in 16th, 17th.
Yeah.
He's doing fantastically well with the qualifying sessions, as we've seen, making it to Q2 regularly, and then the occasional Q3 in a car that's one of the slowest on the grid. So he's getting so much performance out of it. To see him regularly in a top car, that excites me. That really does excite me.
Oh.
Well, okay. I have a bit of a curveball question. Since both of you are Russell lovers, I'm fairly indifferent. I mean, I think he's okay. If it wasn't Russell, who do you think would be the ideal candidate to replace Bottas?
I'm gonna let Seth talk because I actually had some scenarios written down for you guys, so that can answer your question there.
Okay.
So go ahead, Seth.
So if we're taking Russell out of the equation,
if Russell just the stars don't align, who would you feel could be an adequate D2 to Hamilton?
See, this is the thing. I think it depends on what you want as a second driver for Lewis. I think the difficulty with Valtteri is that he's expecting to challenge as well as Lewis. And I think everyone knows Lewis is the main driver in that team. He's the one that's going to be going for the World Championship. So, I mean, even someone like who's potentially sort of at the end of their career, who's not really going to put up much sort of trouble, but is going to still sort of, you need someone who's going to consistently score points. So someone like if Fernando Alonso has a good season with Alpine, bringing him in as just a steady hand, something like that, even like a Kimi Raikkonen who's been solid in the Alfa Romeo,
and has experience being a second driver as well.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the only other thing I think it would depend on Lewis's contract. At the minute, he's only got the 1 year. I'm sure I read recently that for his next contract, he wants a couple of years, I believe. So whether you wanted someone to sort of be grooming to take over Hamilton's seat as such, you could look for someone like an Ocon or a Gasly or something like that. But I think it depends on what you do with Lewis. It's a tough one. It's a tough one when you don't know the ins and outs, I guess.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't know if I agree with that, trying to get a second driver. Lewis is getting into his end in terms of with possible life with Mercedes. Like, yeah, he's going to resign, but both Hamilton and Bottas have only signed a 1 year extension. So they're actually out of a seat for next year so far. Obviously, I don't see why Mercedes wouldn't, re-sign Hamilton here. But I feel like going back to the whole Nico Rosberg Hamilton kind of era, where it's just 1 and 1 against the other, one way to push each other is just like competition, and I feel like Paris is finally getting up there. So that's only going to make Max Verstappen even better as well. So it's really whether it's going to be, some competition to put in, or in which case George Russell fits that formula quite well, or just give, a chance to other developments. So having said that, the reserve driver for Mercedes is Stoffel van Dorn. Wait, did I get his last name right? Stoffel van Dorn.
Stoffel, yeah.
Exactly. So he was in McLaren back in a few years. He did pretty well. He's okay. But as a reserve driver, I might as well give him a shot, see how he races in a Merc. So that could be one thing. So the other one, besides, I guess, Russell going up, I'm thinking Nico Hülkenberg would be nice to see him there.
Back in the sport, yeah.
I don't know how this puts a damp on Daniel Ricciardo's reputation, but it would be nice to see him in a racing car again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. Going back to what I mentioned, that the scenarios kind of talking. So I have 3 scenarios here.
Ooh.
The first one is the kind of like the chill one, the more like the one that possibly could happen. So I have here, okay, Hamilton resigns with Mercedes, done for. Russell gets promoted to Mercedes, and Bottas gets demoted to Williams. Okay, so he's back in his car. So that's back in his old car. So that's one of the scenarios. Scenario B: Hamilton resigns with Mercedes. Russell resigns with Williams. and you get Stoffel Van Dorn Merck tryout, which is what I just mentioned. And what does this mean? Bottas is done for, and his career is
How
ciao
old is
kaput.
he? How old is he? Is he like is he kind of
Bottas
in the
is
twilight of his career?
I mean,
Valtteri,
he's not
Yeah.
he's not old. 30s maybe. I would
31.
guess. Yeah, 31.
31.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, he has a
31.
few years technically under him if he wanted.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And then the last scenario I have here, Hamilton resigns with Merck. Again, I told you guys, I don't see that going any other way. Bottas resigns with Mercedes. I just don't see it. And then just Russell gets tired of waiting, and gets sent to, takes over Ricardo's spot in McLaren. That'd be something potentially to look at. George Russell just saying, you know what, I'm done here. I don't see my future here. Let's go somewhere else. And that's the whole idea of him bringing up this like pressure on Toto Wolff to be like, okay, sign me now. Like I need to know where I'm going for. So what do you guys think? Out of those three, what's the most possible situation happening?
I think
Or if you have another one.
I think that this is the thing. I think Mercedes could end up losing George if they're not careful, because from his perspective, again, he's clearly better than that Williams car. He should be in something quicker. So I think if they don't start either giving him promises that, okay, 100%, one more season at Williams and then you come to us, or sort of even this summer, sort of for next season, we'll move you across. Why wouldn't he go and explore other options, especially like as a British guy? Potentially he could go to another British team in McLaren to race with Lando, two British drivers. I think that'd be good fun. George and Lando, that'd be great. I don't see Valtteri re-signing. I really don't see him re-signing, or Merck even offering him the deal as such.
Yeah.
So I think the most likely is probably, I hope also, this is the one I want, is George going to Mercedes next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the signs lead to that. Well, I mean, just of the topic, if Lando and George, I mean, it's also Hamilton and George, right? Also two British guys. That'll be a lot of fun. The one thing that, and I think, Gabo just touched on it a bit, is I want a Mercedes unit like Nico and Lewis back in the day. It is so boring seeing just everything being tailored for one person and the other person just just so willing to not compete. And I understand that it's just Bottas trying to be a team player and all that jazz, but I also think for Mercedes, they need to look at, okay, what is our priority? Do we want to put all our eggs in one basket and have us win the driver championship, or which is the main goal is to win the constructors championship, right? Fundamentally, from the organization's perspective, they'll try to focus on that. So they would want someone who can
Competent.
compete. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So.
Yeah.
I'm still not fully sold on George. Maybe I just don't watch him enough, and I'm not as in tune with his speed as I should. But I don't know if he can be that person. That's all. That's my only reservation.
Absolutely no. Well, we'll see how it goes. For the viewers out there, whatever you guys think, feel free to leave some comments. We'd love to hear, what do you guys think about? Is George going back to Merck? Is Bottas' career done for? Anyway, we'd love to hear about you guys. So, lastly, I do want to touch on the maybe not too much. We're still waiting on some investigations and more news on the matter. But at the end of the day, yes, Perez had a wonderful race, keeping Hamilton at bay the whole freaking race. That was absolutely amazing. But in the end of the day, it was the tires that kind of gave that away for Perez there. Verstappen blowing out his tire, Stroll having blown his tire earlier. The Hamilton thing was more of that magic brake thing.
The magic button.
The magic button that sounded so sketchy when it happened. I was
It
like,
is,
"What
yeah.
is this?" Like, okay. But yeah, I mean, look, Pirelli came out. Obviously, Pirelli are not going to come out and saying like, "Yeah, it's our fault." So their first instinct was, be defensive about it. Be like, we think it's debris that caused the issue. Sure, that answers the question on Verstappen, but what happened to Stroll?
Mm-hmm.
Then again, Stroll did, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong here. Stroll actually pitted super early. I believe actually before lap 10 in the single digits, and then he stayed with the same hard tires the whole way. So if that's the case, you're running in Baku for so long in one tire. is it really Pirelli, or is it just Tyre not wanting more? So what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's actually done for? This investigation is not going to go anywhere, or was it the debris? Was it actual tire management? Was it poor tire management from the drivers? What do you guys think?
I mean, from my understanding, I believe that Pirelli tire should be the hard tire. They've said should be able to last at least 40 laps. I think it is. Stroll's blew out on lap 29, nowhere near. And Verstappen, his had only been on for 33, so that's potentially another 7 laps. Now, they also said that apparently they found a cut on one of Hamilton's tires as well. So, I mean, that would sort of fit in with their argument that it's debris. But what I don't understand is where's that debris come from? For Stroll's especially, there was no accident before Stroll's tire blew out, as far as I can remember anyway. So I don't understand where that debris came from for his tire. As soon as it happens, the commentators I don't know about your how you were watching it, but the British commentators we had were Mark Webber and I believe it was another driver. So they said as soon as it happened, blowout. Like the drivers, I think they would know, sort of thing. And the fact that it was just on the straight, so there was sort of no pressure from the corners, like just out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't know. It's just dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pirelli really messed up. If honestly, if I was at least Red Bull, I would send them the bill for the repairs for the car and ask them to fix it, and an added interest fee because it cost Max the race. I mean, obviously I'm a bit salty because pre race my prediction was Max was gonna win, and I was on track, by the way, for an accurate prediction. So I'm a bit extra salty, but yeah, I mean, Max was lucky that Hamilton also was out of the race. But in a normal scenario, that if someone went out, like Max went out and Hamilton was still in the race and even finished 5th, that's a huge point differential in a very tight race already. To me, I think they did a few things. So I think that kind of that rear, I believe left tire, I read a theory is based on how the track is set up, is the least stressed tire.
Yeah.
Because of how there's a theory coming out saying that because it's the least stressed, they had less time to get the right pressure on it and the right temperature on it. So therefore, when it was down that straight line, it couldn't handle the pressure. So to me,
was it the I know it was the left for Hamilton, but was it the left for Stroll and Max, or was it
so,
right?
Yeah.
It was the same. Yeah, it was the same tire.
It was the same tire.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I think. Well, look, I think fundamentally, what started this whole tire management and meddling with tires and making them wear out a bit faster than before is because I believe a few now potentially more than a decade ago, it was when we still had the Bridgestone tires. And there was a lot of poor tire management, but it allowed a lot of interesting dynamic to the race. And ever since then, the FIA have had this approach where we're going to use tires that maybe wear out a bit sooner than they should. So then it just keeps things interesting, like it's, entertainment and all that jazz. And so, it just raises the question, A, should the model to tire management change? And B, if another incident or 2 or 3 or 10 keep occurring with tires throughout the seasons, should Bridgestone come back? And so, I mean, I think Bridgestone tires were okay, but at least they were reliable.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you guys think though.
I mean, again, if you look at the standings now, you think about the sort of ramifications of Verstappen not finishing that race. Red Bull have now taken the lead in constructors and drivers, which I think is the first time in like 6 years. But they could potentially have, if you add on another So let's say they only got 25 because of Carlos winning. You add on another 18 should Carlos have been second, Verstappen first. They've got a lead there in the championship, the Constructors' Championship, of getting on sort of 40 points, which is a fantastic start considering how poor Bottas has been. Yeah. It puts them in a really strong position for going forward. Yeah, Pirelli going to have some questions to answer, and they're going to be under a lot of scrutiny over the next few races to make sure they sort of keep the tires going. If there's any more incidents, I mean, could they have a look at sort of changing during? I don't know if they could feasibly do that, change midway during the season, or they'd have to run an investigation and pause races. I don't know. Yeah, let's see.
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, who's also doing the investigation? It's like, okay, so we messed up. We're gonna do the investigation. So it's like, okay, shouldn't we have a third party here? But anyway, for everyone that stuck around, thanks guys for watching. It was great race overall. We'll tune in for next week. I believe it's France, if I'm not mistaken.
Allez les bleus.
Allez les bleus. Pardon my French. But yeah, excellent guys. Thanks for your all inputs, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like hearing us ramble about sports, feel free to subscribe at the top right. Check out the next videos on the left, and feel free to leave us a like at the bottom. Thank you guys for watching.